The best interest of the children is one of the most meaningless, useless terms insofar as contact care, guardianship and maintenance is concerned in South Africa. The lawyers and the psychologists and the judges and the clever people are going to jump up and down and say, oh, but there's a definition in the Children's Act. Section 18 of the Children's Act, the best interests of the children. Well, it is abundantly clear that A, Section 18 is not working, B, it is being ignored, C, it is completely meaningless because you cannot apply Section 18 around the best interests of the child. This was deliberate. It was maliciously intended because the original writers of the Children's Act said that the definition of the best interests of the child will be defined by the courts and the judges and the magistrates. Well, clearly they haven't done their job or mission. The definition of the best interest of the child is not working. By design, the failure for the government and the justice system and the Department of Social Development and the judges and the magistrates and the other people within the system, the lawyers and the advocates and psychologists and social welfare workers, deliberately use the lack of a definitive description of the best interests of the children with the direct intent to A, fail parents and specifically fail children, and B, to keep the mother and father in a constant state of conflict, which is not in the best interest of the child. So what we're saying, so I have said for many, many years, because of the deliberate lack of the government providing proper guidance through the Children's Act, the Marriages Act, etc., and Divorce Act, because they have deliberately failed, they are derelict of duty. They have set the parents and the children up for failure. They have set the parents up for a constant state of conflict. And because of that, failure by the government and Department of Justice, Department of Social Development, and whoever else is involved, direct, deliberate failure to provide a golden rule by which we can all depart. A definition that we can begin to use and say, okay, well, is mommy acting in the child's best interest? Is daddy acting in the best interest of the child? Are the parents acting in the best interest of the child? Specifically when it comes to contact care, guardianship and maintenance, within the definition, within the confines of the Children's Act, which I refer to as the family portion of the Children's Act, because it goes on to handling children in trouble with the law, adoption, foster care, etc., etc. So I refer to the portion that is directly related to the family and the child's continued contact with both of its parents. So as a direct result, I have been saying for many, many years that we need to find a definition, and nobody's come. So I have created our own, and I've been saying it for many, many years. And nobody has challenged me on this. Now please understand, I'm going to use some words, that's why this piece of paper is here, because otherwise this is going to get banned because I'm mentioning bad words. You know how childish and immature and woke social media is. So I am saying, as a direct result of the deliberate malicious intent of the government's failure and the Justice Department and Social Development direct, deliberate failure to provide parents proper guidance, then we need to use this definition. So, in the absence of these three things, I hope you guys can read it. Okay? In the absence of these three things, we are saying that the definition, in the absence of those three things that I've just put up now, the child must have automatic daily physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, physical contact, care, guardianship, and maintenance with, by, and of both biological parents at all times. Okay, and irrelevant and irrespective of the parents' marital status or lack thereof, culture, tradition, religion, and other norms and practices. Any parent, parents, person, or entity that attempts in part or in whole to deny the child's inherent right to have an ongoing daily relationship from birth with both of its biological parents, then that parent, parents, person, or entity is automatically guilty of child, number 2 word, and must be charged accordingly. You cannot, because you see the problem is, because we've got clever lawyers that love to keep parents in a constant state of conflict, and incompetent social workers and psychologists that write a report about Mary when in actual fact they've interviewed little Tabu and they can't remember from one kid to the next. Okay, because you have not provided parents proper guidance, you've allowed one parent to, second word, the situation, okay, and you are deliberately placing and automatically placing the parents on a road to conflict, unnecessary, protracted conflict. So guys, I will write that definition down for you again. Okay, and you've got to start demanding that, because the only way that this changes, okay, is if every person goes and said, you failed as the government to provide us a definition. Here is a definition. Let's argue around that. Because the problem is if I've got hundreds of trillions of dollars, which I wish I had, in my bank account, I can hire a hired rogue cowboy lawyer to go in there and make my own definition. You know, we spoke about the word reasonable yesterday. We've all discovered that the word reasonable is a garbage word. And we're saying we've got to get specific, because this nonsense of keeping parents in a constant state of conflict at a completely exorbitant amount of unnecessary waste of money over protracted years, that is legal abuse. Parents, and I don't care whether mommy is a bad mommy or daddy's a bad daddy, or they're both good or they're both bad, or whatever the case may be. Why do you want to keep parents in a constant state of conflict? Either that is the mommy, I'm the daddy, and this is our child. What are we discussing here? Eh? It's very simple. The child must be cared for. The child has a God-given right to have a relationship with both of its parents. And if one parent didn't see themselves raising that child with the other parent, well then you know what? Don't put your lack of accountability and responsibility and placing that child in harm's way because you as an adult, because you are behaving like an immature idiot, okay, and cannot take accountability and responsibility for your life, your actions. Now you want to punish the other parent because of your inherent immaturity and your inherent lack of responsibility and accountability. And in order to punish that parent because of your bad, incompetent, lack of accountability and responsibility. You use the child and you do all of this with the direct intent to harm the child so that you can punish the other parent. If you did not see yourself raising that child with that parent, very simply put, you shouldn't have had that child with that parent in the first place. Your lack of foresight and maturity and being able to take accountability and responsibility for your actions must not impede your child's relationship with the other parent. And we've got to be that blunt about it. And you guys have got to start getting specific. You've got to start, it's very simple. We've already discovered with the other videos that I've put out this week that the mother does not have superior rights that exceed the constitution of the law of South Africa. We are all equal before the law. So it's very simple. Now we need to start clearing up the mess. Because this continued nonsense is having a direct effect on our children. It is a well-documented psychological research is in your 0 to 7 years of a child's development are the foundation upon which the child will live the rest of its life. I had a dad, I was speaking to him, he was having huge issues with the mother, and she's got huge abandonment issues. So I said, well, what happened between age 0 to 7? He says, no, Daddy stepped out to go and buy a pack of cigarettes when she was 5 years old. And I said, okay, so she's got abandonment issues. And I said to him, okay, well then the other thing is that she either hates smoking or she is a heavy smoker. And he says her smoking is ridiculous. She smokes between 3 and 4 packs a day. Okay. That's how these things impact on children's lives. So now you are destroying the relationship of the child between one or both of the parents in the foundational phase of development, the most vitally important psychological period of a child's development. Okay? If you go back and look at your life pattern, you will notice that there's a repeated pattern in your life every 2 years or every 6 years. Okay? And if you go back and look at your childhood, between those time period between 0 and 7 years old, and you go back and look and you pinpoint an incident, and I can guarantee you every time your world goes to a ball of excrement, you can pinpoint it back and you'll say, okay, but now 5 years ago this happened, and when I was 30 it happened, and when I was 25 this happened, and when I was 20 it's happened. It's going to repeat until you address that at an emotional and psychological and physical level. The bottom line is, guys, that the best interest of the child is in the current format, specifically around family, the family law section of the Children's Act is a meaningless term. And by the time that the adults, so all the adults, the lawyers, the advocates, the parents, the judges, the magistrates, actually start addressing the child's best interests, I can tell you now, that child's rights have been, word number 2, for 5-10 years. And then we wonder why we've got such a screwed up society. In the current format, the Section 18, and obviously combined with Section 19, 2021, it is a meaningless statement that sets the parents and the child up for failure. And until we have a definitive description, this nonsense is going to continue. That's why we are insisting on automatic, mandatory 50-50 contact care, guardianship and maintenance. There is no superior parent. We are all equal before the law. If you go and have a look at the psychology, the psychology is telling us that the child, in order to grow the child into a fully functional, developed adult, that is able to function normally in society and be a productive member of society, it must have daily emotional and psychological contact with both parents. Okay. Guys, if you are looking for somebody to assist you to strategically get you, your family, including your delightful ex, out of the legal justice system, please contact us. We will assist you with a strategic plan to strategically get you all out of the legal justice system as effectively, efficiently, and cost efficiently as is possible. We do charge for our services. The reality is that we are not funded as an organization, so each person needs to pay their way forward. But I can tell you now, it's nowhere near what lawyers, advocates, psychologists, etc. Charge you. You will have a very blunt, honest answer with us. We can either help you or we can't. And if we can't help you, we will obviously tie off everything that we possibly can so that you can get on with your life. Okay. If you need assistance, I have put a parenting and mediation document together. It comes out of 22 years of direct working at the coalface. If you're looking for it, it's normally $850. We're doing a special at the moment for $590. And it is exceptionally detailed. There's a lot of information there. And I can tell you now, I look at these divorce decrees, I look at these parenting plans, and it's like the divorce decree and the parenting and the maintenance plan has been written in such a way in order to keep the parents in a constant state of conflict. You know, you have reasonable contact with your child. Well, for me, reasonable contact is 1 second a year. Please spend 5 million rand and 10 years in court proving me wrong. Okay. So there's very specific things that must go into a parenting plan. And obviously we advocate for mediation. Mediation is the clever way to do it. It is the adult way to do it. If you insist on running to lawyers in the courts, you are a childish, immature idiot. And by default, you are displaying that you are an inferior parent because you've got to run to somebody else. You cannot sit down as a mature adult and say, a relationship has come to an end. We need to separate our lives. We need to make sure that the children are taken care of properly by both of us and that we can both move on and get on with our lives. That is the mature way to do it. Mediation good, litigation bad. Okay, obviously, 9 times out of 10, we're dealing with the idiot on the other side. So guys are forced to go through mediation. But we strongly advocate for mediation. And even if you don't do mediation, it's a very good document to get because it has a lot of information that I can tell you now is deliberately left out of divorce, parenting, and maintenance plans. The divorce decree, parenting, and maintenance plans. To keep you two fighting. You got to feed the machine. If you're looking for assistance, info@f4j.co.za. Please remember, it must have the numeral number 4. There's the website. You can go and log on, and you can go to booking a consult. You can either do a standard consult. I will speak to you within 12 to 48 hours, and then there's decision made whether it's mediation, litigation, or a combination of both. And you'll go across to those departments within 7 to 14 working days. Or you can set up an urgent consultation with us online. Please bearing in mind that you should do an urgent consultation with us or do an instant transfer to speed up the process because PayFast takes about 4 days for the transfer to come through. So yeah, we are here to help you. We are definitely not playing games anymore. This nonsense that mothers have superior rights and fathers can rights and that the father and the children's rights can be shoved down the toilet. We're not dealing with that any longer. If you do not see yourself raising that child with that person, then very simply put, you shouldn't have had a child with that person. Stop punishing the child and the other parent for your bad decision making. If you didn't see yourself raising the child with that person, and you're now going to punish that person, the other parent, through the child, automatically displays that you are an incompetent, useless, moronic, idiotic, bad parent. Let's put that out there. Let's start making sure that that message gets out there. I love you all. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a fantastic day further.